Death of Robin Hood is an American thriller film that's a loose adaptation of the 17th century ballad Robin Hood's Death. It's written and directed by Michael Saranoski. The film follows an aged Robin who is tormented by his past killings as an outlaw and is living in a self-imposed exile. When he is wounded, Robin takes refuge in a priory where he befriends the prioress and an orphan girl. This will be a spoiler-free review, but before we get into it, are you a fan of Robin Hood? Do you think we needed a darker take on the classic folk legend? Or should I have just left it alone? Let me know down in the comments below, and without wasting any more time, let's just jump straight into it. Starting off with the good, I think the movie is very well shot. It really brings out the emotions that they're trying to convey really well. From the dark, brooding opening that just feels overpowering, dreadful, and hopeless, to the more vibrant, full of life and hope that comes from a lot of the back of the film, it's just wonderful. The score is also really well done. It really makes you feel like you're in the 13th century with the kind of vibe and sound that they're going with. The music can be foreboding, it can be hopeful, and so many more emotions that, along with the scenery and how the movie was shot, they all just come together to really complement each other in a wonderful way. All that stuff is great. I think the acting across the board was also really good. Hugh Jackman as an older Robin Hood who regrets most of his ultra-violent past is great. Bill Skarsgård as Little John is excellent. I wish he was in the movie longer. He was easily my favorite performance of the film. He is so threatening and you feel that he can go off at any moment. Bill is fantastic in everything that he does, and that's no different here in The Death of Robin Hood. Jodie Comer does a great job as the prioress of the island as well. She's caring, loving, and sees the best of everyone and just wants everyone to be healthy and see the best in life. Everyone else in the movie also does a great job, but those three are the standouts to me. And that's all that's good that I really have to say about this movie. So moving on to the mix, I think the brutality of this film goes a bit too far. I'm all for ultra violence in movies, especially if they help enhance the film and what you're trying to portray. And it does a good job at portraying the world that we're in, but the issue is that I think it just goes way too far for its own good. And they're just going for the most insane stuff just to get a reaction out of the audience. And to the movie's credit, it worked for the theater that I was in. I heard audible gasps multiple times throughout the opening 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. So if we're looking at just that, it did its job really well. We're in a world where nothing is off limits, but to me it doesn't enhance the movie in any significant way, just because there's so much ultra violence in the beginning and then the rest of the movie there is absolutely no violence. This is a very weird opening to the movie, and I don't feel like it really enhances anything else past just going for the most absurd ultra violence that you can get away with to like make people dislike this version of Robin Hood. I don't think it adds anything to the movie, and I think it actually actively probably hurts it more than anything. Moving on to the bad, this movie is just flat out boring and uninteresting for the most part. I think the idea of a darker Robin Hood who is no hero is interesting and could have made for an epic film, and the beginning of this movie is like that. The film opens up with Robin being sought out by Little John to help him one last time to save his wife, farm, and daughter. Robin then agrees and they go out about their way to save them. In ultra-violent fashion, they save the farm and the daughter, but Little John's wife is killed during the rescue. And Little John just lets the guy who killed his wife have it, so far so as to ripping off his jaw in front of his daughter. This world is very violent, and you can just tell by everything that happens between this rescue that nothing is really off limits. But then later on that night, the surviving kin of those who they killed come to take revenge, burning the farm, trying to kill Little John and his daughter as a blood debt. And Robin is wounded so bad he has to go to what Little John claims is a witch who can heal him no matter what. This whole opening sequence is, like I said, 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, and it feels like, to me, the climax of a movie that I would have rather been watching. Once we're at the Priory, the movie slows down so much, and the tonal shift is insane to me. What could have been a great little epilogue showing what this whole story was being told by Robin on his deathbed at this Priory is unfortunately where we spend the vast majority of the film. I just don't understand what the goal of this movie was. Like I said, I think making Robin Hood an actual awful person and using the stories of his heroics to his advantage is interesting and a unique take for the character. But I think you need to make that movie, not make a movie where we're given what should be the climax of the film and a stretch out epilogue that's the majority of the movie. I don't care about Robin as a character in this movie. He's shown to be just an awful and cruel and willing to do anything to make sure he doesn't die. But then we're supposed to sympathize with him during the back half of the film, thinking he can showing true remorse for what he's done throughout his life. But I don't think that's earned or deserved in the slightest. Like I said, this movie is really boring, and that mainly comes down to the majority of the runtime being set on the Priory, which is just a secluded island from everything else. I think you can easily fix this by making Robin have to come clean about who he is, and while all these stories about him aren't 100% true, we learn that he also isn't this cruel, awful person that he's been made out to be by the people he's done wrong by. Maybe show that while he isn't a hero of the poor like he's been depicted by the people, he still cares about the people who are being exploited by those with power. Something to make his character more nuanced. That simple change, to me, changes his character from just being a brutal outlaw only looking out for himself and his crew, to there actually being a reason why all these stories exist. They're not just something that people made up. He did help the poor, he did do good things, but he used that as a way to get away with his other misdoings and let the tall tales of him being the hero of the poor overtake all the evil that he was also committing. That to me helps this movie far more interesting, and you also get more action sequences. This movie, like I said, is boring. The first 20 to 30 minutes is a tonal whiplash compared to the rest of the film. And I know not every movie needs to be action, action, action all the time. I get that. I like a lot of movies that do not have any action whatsoever. But to me, this change, and all these are being stories that he's telling to the priorist on his deathbed, maybe because the wound is too much to handle. I think this gives the movie more action. You're able to show that Robin Hood is also a more nuanced character than just he's feeling remorse now and he just wants to die because of all the bad he's done. I don't care about his journey at the end of this movie because there's nothing to grasp for me. I just don't really know what they were trying to do with this movie. It feels like they just want to deconstruct the hero of Robin Hood, the legend that he is, just because he is a well-known character and that's all that there is to it. There's nothing more to this movie other than deconstructing of the legend of Robin Hood, other than to deconstruct it. It's a shame. The movie is well shot, well acted, well scored and everything, but man, this could have been a great movie if I think they just did that one little change. Give us something to care about this Robin Hood, but you don't do that. Death of Robin Hood could have been an interesting, darker take on the classic folk character, but what we got is an uninteresting, boring slog of film that just wants to deconstruct the folk hero into this awful person who maybe at the end of his life can find peace, but it's never truly earned. The Death of Robin Hood gets a 4 out of 10 for me. I truly think there's a great movie within this film, but it focuses way too much on the wrong things for you to even start caring about Robin or anything that's happening around him. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.